Greetings, my fellow YouTubians. This is the second of two videos I'm making on the movie Inception, which was one of the one movie that I was looking forward to seeing more than any this year and exceeded my expectations dramatically. I was very, very pleased by that. I recently saw it a second time, and I wanted to express a few more thoughts on it, particularly on how my initial reaction was one that Christopher Nolan, at least appeared to me, Christopher Nolan was sending out a message saying that this is how movies are made. This is how great movies are made. And there's two aspects I wanted to go over here. The first aspect, of course, is that how the plot of the movie seems to, in some ways, resemble the making of a movie. And this has been touched upon by a number of different writers who have done work on the movie. Not on the movie itself, but about the movie. DiCaprio, of course, has assembled a team to put on basically a show for his target, Cillian Murphy's character. And as such, many of the members of the team have roles that are similar to the roles that people would take on in the making of a film. For example, DiCaprio is the director, and his assistant director is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and in constructing the environments that they occupy, Ellen Page would be the production designer, Ken Watanabe is kind of the studio chief, their audience is Cillian Murphy, and I guess that makes Marion Cotillard the critic. And there's other less ambiguous or more ambiguous roles that take on. But when you have the structure of the film itself sort of divided into two parts, that would be the planning stage, and then you have the execution of the plan, in which they actually go into Cillian Murphy's subconscious and attempt to plant this idea in the head. And which involves staging a series of scenes for him to interact with. Now, this is similar to the filmmaking process, in which you have first pre-production, in which the film shoot is planned out and locations are secured and actors are cast and what have you. And then, of course, you have production, which is the principal photography. And during that time, as with most film productions, any number of different things can happen that would result in people needing to adapt, change plans. David Fincher, in one of his interviews, described principal photography as like going to war. It's like a constant battle to just get whatever it is you need that day in the amount of time that you had. And that's kind of what happens in Inception. A lot of stuff pops up during the actual mission itself that they're not prepared for, and they have to deal with it. They have to constantly be changing their plans in order to get done what they need to have done. Now, there's one other way that that the actual production part of Inception, the mission itself, is similar to story structure in films. Let's take a look at exactly how the structure of Inception works. First of all, you have reality. This is the plane. On board the 747, they dose Cillian Murphy with the drugs to make him go to sleep, and then they all put themselves to sleep and connect to his subconscious. Now, the next level down from here, of course, is Yusuf Dream. Yusuf is the guy who developed the potion, and he's the guy who's driving the van around in the in the first dream state, while everyone else goes down to the second level, which is hosted by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I forget his name exactly. He, of course, is watching over them in the zero-gravity hotel, or when they become zero-gravity, fighting off the agents and then wrapping them up and sending them to the elevator for the kick. The next level down is Eames. Eames is the guy who can take on other people's personas, and what he does is he's watching over everyone in the snowy mountain. And then finally, you have Limbo, which is where Cillian Murphy and Marion Cotillard descend to after they're both shot in this version. So what happens is you have a series of levels here that are all sort of taking place at once. Now, this is similar to the storytelling structure of a number of different movies. As an example, I'll say She's Out of My League. This is a recent comedy that came out on video a few weeks ago, which I happened to catch. And basically, in She's Out of My League, you have the main character and the girl that he's interested, and her best friend. And you also have a series of supporting characters, such as his friends and his family, that all have storylines that occur within the plot of the movie. So what happens is each of these storylines are introduced individually, and we can sort of go back and forth dealing with all of them. But at one point, at the end of the movie, in the climax, all the characters are in the same place, the airport terminal, where all the storylines are resolved pretty much all at once, or at least one after the other in rapid succession. And this is a classic screenwriting technique that many people will teach you on. Similarly, Inception does the exact same thing. Each reality, each one of these dream states is hit one at a time. They're in this level, and then they submerge further to this level, and so on until the last characters, the last 4 characters, are down in limbo. But when the climax comes, each of these are resolved in rapid succession by first Ellen Page waking herself up and going to this level, and then being woken up by Joseph Gordon-Levitt and going up to this level, and then everyone else being woken up in the van going to this level, and finally they ascend to reality again. DiCaprio and Ken Watanabe eventually join them. But these all happen in rapid succession, which is sort of a mirror image of how a lot of screenwriters will structure those scripts. They'll set up all the storylines, one after the other in a series of different scenes, but then a lot of them will be resolved at once. Not every movie uses the technique, but a lot of them do. So as I watched the movie and afterwards, I kind of was thinking about filmmaking technique, and I couldn't understand why it was that I was reminded of this by this film, but afterwards I sort of figured out after thinking about it for a few days. I don't know whether or not anyone else has come to that conclusion. I don't know whether that was Christopher Nolan's intention, but it kind of fits, yeah? Anyway, I hope you've all seen the movie. Otherwise, I've just spoiled a whole bunch of story points for you. But thanks very much for watching, and take it easy.